how are you? So, this is my second week of trying to get back onto doing weekly vlogs. Let's see how long I keep this up for. So, this week I had a bit of a revelation. For a while now, pretty much just came back to uni, I've been considering whether or not to carry on studying and doing a PhD. But I don't think I really considered it possible. And then I started digging a little deeper and a little deeper. And it turns out I really want to do a PhD. Yeah. So currently feeling shocked, terrified, scared, and excited. Yeah. About what this means. Obviously, I've got to get through my master's first, but yeah, it's an amazing opportunity that I realise I have to continue doing something that I love, and that's why I want to do a PhD. Is I've fallen back in love with studying. By the end of my undergrad, I really didn't, but now it's so exciting. Like, you get to go and you're putting all these little things, like finding all the clues and putting them all together and like piecing together what people thought, what people said, to come up with your conclusion of whatever your question was when you started. Today I was having to like put something on the forum for one of my modules about research questions, and I realised that most of the questions that I've ever asked within history have just ended up being a hypothesis as a conclusion. I've never actually been able to like prove, experiment, identify the reasons that I thought my conclusion was true. It was always based on kind of like my exploration and my putting together of the facts. And I really want to take that further. Like, I want to take some of the ideas that I've played around with in my undergrad now and that I'm just interested in further, to kind of take them to that level where it's no longer just like my hypothesis that I think this was the case, but actually this is what I thought, this is what happened, and this is what the reality is. Like, I know I'm a humanist, not a scientist, and that like my strong point is history, but like something interdisciplinary, like using digital humanities with history, I really feel like it's a possibility to actually get more, it'll never be like 100% concrete, but a different way of looking at things, and like a more nuanced way. Can I say that without sounding really pretentious? Probably not. But yeah, like a more nuanced, big picture way, while also kind of trying to keep some of those traditional humanities techniques that involve me getting into the real nitty gritty close up to the sources. So yeah, it's really exciting because I could spend 3 years of my life getting close up and personal with Thomas Cromwell. I'm such a geek. But he's amazing. Like, that is probably the thesis topic and be the most excited to do would be looking at Thomas Cromwell. Like, what were his networks? What was he like? Who was he connected with in and out of court? And how were they all connected? I mean, Tudor politics is crazy. Like, seriously crazy. All the way through. I'm pretty sure Henry VII was as well, but I don't know as much about him. But yeah, it's crazy. It's Tudor politics and the Tudor court. Maybe at some point I'll do a view on why I'm not a big fan of David Starkey, though, who's one of the key historians on that kind of whole period, theme, etc. But yeah, so yeah, looking at Thomas Cromwell. Other option for Tudor politics is also looking at Thomas Howard, who was the Duke of Norfolk, so quite a big player during Henry's reign. Really interesting guy, but really kind of mixed feelings about who he was. Was he just trying to survive and thrive and get the best that he could for his family in a turbulent court, or was he actually manipulative, Machiavellian, deceptive, devious? Was he positioning his nieces, one of whom was a mistress and two of whom were wives of Henry VIII, into the king's bedchamber so that he could gain his own power? Or was he doing it to position his family into a position at court where they would be secure? I think he would also be a really interesting character to look at within that period. Other ideas I've had, there's always looking at the impact of community projects. So last time I got really interested in identity through the module I was doing, heritage, history and identity, and looking at that as how community projects can impact on our identity but also help us reclaim it. Particularly I'd want to look at Operation Nightingale, which is an charitable operation. Not quite sure how I'd describe it, but it basically uses archaeology to help rehabilitate soldiers, both mentally and physically. And I just the biggest impact was when I did one dig with them, and then we had a guy who was a double amputee, and he would, when getting into the test pit, so that he could actually get down and dig properly, he would take both of his legs off and put them on the side. But it was amazing because he was just as able as the rest of us. His disability didn't prevent him from doing anything. He pulled his weight like the rest of us, and he was just as involved. So I don't know, how projects like Operation Nightingale help people to gain an identity, rekindle their identity, build a new identity, but also the impact that it has on people and that it has on their identity. Because I know for some people who have been part of Operation Nightingale over a long period, that is become part of their identity, part of who they are. So yeah, just looking at that, I think would be a really interesting topic. And then I also got told today, which is kind of terrifying, that the concept I want to base my event around for my thesis, for my master's, potentially become a PhD one. And that's on Arthurian legend and looking at how Arthurian legend and the way the characters are presented at the older texts. So looking at things like Sir Gawain Green Knight, Sir Gawain Lady of Lees, Tretan de Troyes, totally pronounced that wrong. His kind of French romances, which feature Percival and Lancelot heavily, how the way the characters in those are presented and what that implies about society at the time and how that's changed, and what the characters today suggest about society now. For example, the chivalric, heroic, totally not biased, this is my favourite, Knight Sir Gawain, who was seen as kind of being the ladies' knight. Very relatable, made mistakes, but his priority, particularly when it came to women, was protecting the vulnerable. And how his presentation in certain shows nowadays, TV rather than books, he's been transformed into a bit of a lad, like bar brawls, drunken fights, gambling, and that's like so far removed from who he was originally. Like, I wanted to look at and try and do an event based around kind of identity and changing identity within well-known myths and stuff and legends, and what that says about society. And I was told that was more of a PhD thesis. So now, basically, I feel like a tug of war is going on between whether I do Tudors, whether I do Arthurian, if I take like an English literature-y approach, even though I'm a historian, or if I take a very historical approach, or if I do something completely new and look at community and heritage and identity. And yeah, I have no idea. But fortunately, if I do pursue my own idea, I won't be applying for this academic year. I'll be applying for the next year, which means that, one, I have to get a job, which is not so great, but two, I also have time to think about this and to choose one. Of course, the other option is that while browsing through Find a PhD or looking at the Rocker website, their studentships and similar things, I find a very rare, fully funded PhD that I would be interested in and I would enjoy. Yeah, because that happens. So, yeah, I've got no idea what I'm going to pick. My heart does lean towards Thomas Cromwell, though. He is my, not hero, but inspiration, admiration. I just think he's amazing and gets a really rough press. I'm sorry. He was not Henry VIII's hatchet man, whatever people might say. So yeah, this is terrifying and exciting all at the same time. So if you want to keep up to date with this terrifying adventure I'm deciding to go on, I'm mad, you can follow me on Twitter. I tend to tweet about my academic life at Katie_digital. And you can also follow my occasional blog posts over at katiewalton.wordpress.com. However, if you think you've forgotten anything you want to tell me by the time you get to either of them, you can also comment below. Let me know any ideas, suggestions, questions you've got, and I'll do my best to respond. Yeah, that's me for now, and I'll see you again next week.